What is going on, everybody? Rod J back in the house with a special guest. Got Kinsey Bernhardt in the house from Gallant Fox Brewing. So great to actually have you in the house tonight. As we're going to get into and talk about the brewery, talk about some beers, have a little bit of fun. And first of all, happy International Women's Day. Right, yes. That's today as well. Yes, so it's great to have you on as a woman represented during the International Women's Day, and a lot of different things I'm seeing out there with a lot of different things happen, not just in the beer community, but outside of it, with a lot of celebrations and stuff taking place. But it's good to see in the brewing industry some of the things that some of the breweries are doing. But welcome to your first Beer Talk Live with us. Hopefully the first, and we'll have more down the line. So
yeah, hopefully this is the first of many.
Yeah, definitely. So how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I mentioned to you before we start recording, just where the brewery's closed on Monday, so that's usually the day that I get so many things done, errands, you name it. So it's good to sit down and finally have a beer, and to talk to somebody about having a beer, and not just staring at my dog all day while he's annoyed that I'm not petting him. So
yeah, dog's like, what is going on right now? What is happening? It's supposed to be me time right now. Well, thanks for reaching out, and thanks for the beers. We'll talk about the beers here as well that you had sent over that I'll crack open here in a second. I know you're already drinking something right there as well. What did you crack open already?
Yeah, so I feel like it's bad form. I'm not drinking the beer from my brewery, but I drink that enough. I never want to get sick of it, so I always like to mix it up. So I'm drinking Yazoo Brewing Company out of, I believe they're out of Nashville. I just saw them at our store, my local beer store the other day. Didn't know that they distributed here. I'd seen them in Tennessee before, but it's their Hoppery Hazy Ipa, which I guess that's a play on Opryland. So it's Hoppery. I'll pull it up to the camera.
Yeah, let me
Hoppery Hazy IPA.
It up there too. There you go.
So I think, it doesn't really have it gives a pretty long description that I won't read, but I think I don't know the ABV on it or anything, but it's good. I've had their beers before and I've really liked it. So when I walked into my beer store the other day, I saw that on the shelf and had to grab it. My parents are headed to Nashville this weekend, so I was like, oh, it's perfect timing to drink it.
Well, there you go. Some good beers down there out of Nashville as well, too.
Yes, there is.
So, and I'm going to actually crack open. I'm trying to think which one I'm going to crack open, and we have people that are definitely already commenting. BC wants me to do the Bill and Ted Crack It Open, that one. And I think that is the Wild Stallion. Is that the one that references the
You're
Bill
correct.
and Ted? Yeah, okay. So I'll hold this one up here.
So something people always find out about me is I get movie shamed a lot. I have not seen a lot of movies. So when our Wild Stallion is our sour series, so this is the second version we've done. This one is with the one you're about to drink is with pineapple and pomegranate. The one we did before was with blackberries and pineapple. So it's our sour series. And when I was so I do the labels for the cans, and when me and our the owner and brewer were talking about what he wanted on the can, he was talking about Bill and Ted. And I was like, hey, Roger, I got to say, you got to explain these things to me. I've never seen the movie. And he just looks up from his computer or whatever we were doing. He's like, you've never seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? And I was like, no. So I was like, so when he was explaining what he wanted, I was like, you have to explain everything. And I read the Wikipedia page. I looked up pictures, I watched some clips from the movie, but I've never seen the movie, so I don't get the reference, I get it, but not in the full sense. So I have some homework to do. I've got to watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, I guess.
Well, the funny thing is, I'm going to think Roger's probably like a Gen Xer like myself. And it's actually one of the movies I haven't seen, but I've seen clips of it to know what the whole idea is about and everything taking place. And I know they came out, or they're working on one coming out as a sequel at this point after all these years. But it's funny, it's just I've never gotten around to seeing it either. But I know the cult following behind Bill and Ted, and it's huge. So
yeah, I've taken that beer to few people and they're like, that was my childhood movie, how have you never seen it? And I'm like, you can say that about a lot of movies with me. So a lot of our beers are pop culture references from our owners, like childhood or just them growing up what they like. And I'm just like, so half of the movies or half of the pop culture references they have to explain to me. So nothing
wrong with that.
I don't know why I haven't seen a lot of movies, but I just haven't. I'm slowly starting to like get movie shamed into watching some of them.
Yeah. Well, it's tough to, with everything else going on, to catch up all these movies. I mean, there's so many that are out there and stuff. Right. But yeah, it's definitely a classic. And I'm going to go ahead and pull it up here so people can see more of the can look. And here is the Wild Stallion, 5% ABV. And as mentioned, it is a sour with pineapple and a pomegranate. Drink excellent beer with each other. So, so that's always a good thing to do. Although I drink solo at times. I mean, it's just me, but.
Again, it is a reference from the movie that I don't understand, that I was told to put on the can and said it was from the movie.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's go ahead and crack this baby open and get it into the glass. Oh, nice pint can. See, pint cans are so popular nowadays.
Yeah, the 16-ounce ones.
Yeah, which I'm okay with. Are you a big sour fan yourself?
I am. I've got to be. It's weird. I have to be in the mood for them. It's usually. I mean, I don't mind to drink sours in the winter, but they're obviously just so much more better in the summertime.
Yeah. Darkish hue on it though, like a darkish, deeper.
So we used one thing I like to mention to people is we did use real pineapple and pomegranate. I remember coming in and there was like 24 pineapples on one of the tables, and I was very confused. I was like, I didn't know that they were doing this one for the pineapple pomegranate variant, and I was like, why are all these pineapples on the table? So they sat there and chopped up pineapple and pomegranate and made their own kind of puree.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's what I usually prefer, as far as when I look at some of the beers. Sometimes when they're not doing that, you can pick up the artificial flavoring taking place. So I always appreciate when the breweries actually use the actual fruit and stuff in there. Up here, as you're familiar, because I'm just up the road from you in Cincinnati, Urban Artifact, they do like all fruits and stuff in there. That's what makes them so huge and so tasty on their stuff, So you get a nice feel coming out of this pomegranate for sure.
Yeah, I really picked up the pineapple, and I was, I was pretty surprised at how like sour and puckering it was when I first tried it.
Yeah, you definitely get a little bit of an astringent effect. You definitely get that acidic feel from the fruits as well. Nice tartness in there, kind of like having some of the sweet tart type candies. That's what I kind of get there as well. Flavor sits nicely in the palate. Only 5%, so it's pretty light. Not a bad one to have on a warmer type day, which is so great. The weather's breaking now, and we're getting back into the 60s.
It was so nice today.
Yeah, I was grilling earlier. It was so nice being outside today, and we turn clocks forward this weekend. So I'm thinking, it's 6:43, but this will be 7:43 next week, which will be nice. So yeah.
Yes. I am a warm weather person, so spring and summer are my favorites. So when I check the weather app and see those 60-degree days, it makes me very excited. And like you all in Louisville, we had ice and snow, so it was pretty miserable for about 2.5 weeks. Yeah.
We pretty much, like I said, we're only 70 miles apart now, and you were just talking a little bit ago, your family's just like 10 minutes from where I'm at here. So when you come up, we get the same weather pattern. So it definitely gets pretty crazy there. But we made it through it only maybe 2 snowfalls this year, which was great. Our weather people predicted more. We got less, which, I don't mind when they mess up on that side. I know other people that they predicted less and they got more and they weren't happy about it. So
always better to overpredict, and then you
always.
Then you don't look like the bad guy.
Right. But to the people in the chat, I'm going to try to get to your comments here as well. Just like usually when I have a guest on here, we try to keep the focus there. So if I miss some of the salutations, that's really the reason why. But you did have my buddy Blake in here. He was ready to definitely get it started. BC was the one that made the Bill and Ted reference. He actually is newer here doing beer reviews as well. So he's out of Michigan. So great to have him on board. And he's always like dropping in different things. We got Steve's Brewing channel watching. And you're welcome, my friend, for watching your stream the other day. Keep doing the good stuff. Let me see here. Said, Bads, you never seen the movies for real? I don't know, Cabo Bad or... I don't know what BC if he was like asking or something was typed there, but yeah, I haven't seen it for real though. But
we both haven't. So
it's just there's so much other stuff that happens. If you don't catch a movie at that time, you won't catch it, right? Like this weekend, I was planning to watch Coming to America 2. Mm-hmm. Haven't got around to it. Now I'm off tomorrow. If I don't catch it tomorrow, I may not catch it for a while. So it's all how it can fit into your schedule. Let's see. White Chipmunk's in the house. He actually takes care of chipmunks. He actually has white chipmunks for the first time I've ever seen him. So great to have you here as well. She was swinging in from another chat. BC, what number are we thinking of? BC may have a few beers already. Let me see. Chester's in the house at Louisville, Kentucky. Always has good beer. Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of good stuff down there. And supposed to get down there previously before the COVID type stuff. And obviously I would love to come down and check you guys out there at Gallant Fox. Luckily, Todd, who's not on here tonight, but Todd, who's my Thursday night co-host, he is down there. So
yes, he is.
Bringing you guys to the forefront with us and sharing that.
Yeah, it was cool. Louisville had, previously a lot of breweries, but then even during the pandemic in just the year 2020, we opened 4 new breweries in Louisville. So that was, it didn't stop us from drinking good beer down here. We persevered and opened 4 breweries, which is kind of insane to say for a year when you saw a lot of breweries close. So Louisville's gaining that traction of being a beer city. Highwire out of Asheville just announced a expansion to Louisville. So it shows that we like beer here and can be a travel destination once things get normal. It helps also when you have this nice brown liquid that people like a lot as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if you heard about bourbon. It's pretty big here.
Just a little bit. I think they got some trails or something people say where you can actually go around the state and really enjoy it. So
yeah, it helps to piggyback off them for what they've already set for themselves here in Louisville. Come for the bourbon, stay for the beer.
And we'll talk about that too, because I'm going to pull up your website and show some of the things you have down there as well here in a bit. But have you ever been on the Bourbon Trail? Have you ever done the Bourbon Trail?
Yeah, I've been to a few distilleries: Wild Turkey, Woodford, Buffalo Trace. I just did Stitzler Weller with my parents the other day. I went and walked around Castle and Key. We didn't do a tour, so. Definitely been to a few. The crazy thing is, and I feel as a Kentuckian, it's terrible to say that I'm not super into bourbon. I don't drink it. But what I like to counter that with is I appreciate it and I love learning about the history. Currently I'm reading Pappy Land by, I forget the author's name, but it's a story about Pappy Van Winkle and his family and the whole bourbon and, history of that bourbon. So I'll read about bourbon. I'll learn about bourbon, but I don't drink it. Yeah.
So you don't like to have it at all, really? Like in anything? Like you're not even mint julep at Derby time or anything? Or
No. I always joke that I drink 3 liquids: beer, water, and coffee.
You know what? I like those 3 liquids, so that's fine too.
Me too. I'm like, I don't need to change it up. Those are 3 really good liquids. They give me all the nutrients that I need, and I'm just going to stick with them.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to get more around the state to do more of the bourbon stuff. It's funny because I tell people, I'm in the bourbon state, but I really don't drink a lot of the bourbon, so I'm drinking a little bit more here and there. Now, I used to bartend back in the 90s, and back then I would drink more spirits than beer because where we were, I went to school at WVU, was that we didn't really have the craft stuff yet. It was really all macros. So my preference was to drink, more of the spirit type drinks and things along those lines. But I do want to get more involved. I have a lot of guys that also watch the channel, that I watch their stuff, that are whiskey drinks. I'm always learning and the different things that they're actually sharing and stuff as well. So, but we do have a lot of bourbon here, of course, in the state, which we are the bourbon state. So yeah. Let me see.
And the cool thing that the breweries here in Kentucky get to benefit from is having access to their barrels so easily. Obviously, you can just drive down the street here in Louisville or even in Lexington and grab a couple old, bourbon barrels to put some beer in. So I think that's really neat for us is our access to good bourbon barrels. I know a lot of other breweries across the state they call them barrel-aged beers, but it's whiskey or it's, Texas bourbon or whatever. But it's really cool that here in Kentucky, we get access to Kentucky bourbon barrels so easily to make a nice, true bourbon barrel-aged beer. And I think, it's rare to see so many barrel-aged beers on tap at breweries, but it's so common here in Kentucky to walk in and see a bourbon barrel-aged beer on tap and always on tap. Yeah.
It's almost kind of surprising when you go to a brewery that doesn't have something that's been barrel aged now.
Right? We just brewed our first stout to throw in a barrel, so we will in 4 months or 4 to 6 months we'll be able to try that barrel aged beer. Whatever.
Now, what whiskey did you use for that one?
We got a couple from it's a newer distillery. It's called Good Times. We have a couple barrels from Good Times Bourbon. Mm-hmm. I'm not super familiar with them, and then Starlight as well.
Okay.
So we've got about 8 bourbon barrels waiting to put beer in.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's funny. Last week I was talking about. I actually saw now there was a distillery that was using. They were doing something like kind of the reverse of that, where we were using beer and some of the stuff they were distilling, which was great because it's kind of like there's so much interchange going on, and even some of the beers that are using the wine barreling now and the different fields you get.
Yeah, I've read about some of that stuff where a distillery uses like some of the beer products and vice versa. So we definitely like to help each other out and use whatever the other can't. So I think that's really cool within the spirits and alcohol community.
Yeah. Let me see here. We got Z in the house. He's basically says, Winter got one more in her. He's getting snow late March, so that sucks. For some of the guys that are up north, I'm sure they're actually getting some of those as well. Let me see. We got 21090 in the house. 210, Todd and Andy, they actually do beer reviews out of Maryland and have a really channel as well. So glad for them to tune in, and they have some great things that take place there. Let me see here.
You mentioned you got somebody from Michigan. I'm headed up there at the end of April, so I hope all the snow and coldness has cleared out of the way. Headed up to Kalamazoo, Holland area for a nice little weekend beer trip. First one I've been on to in a very long time, so haven't been up to those big ones up in Michigan, so meeting a few people up there that I know in the beer industry. So you need to make sure it is warm and not cold because it needs to be enjoyable. I want it to be at least 50 degrees, so I'm hoping for that.
Well, if you're going by New Holland, I hear it's always paradise there. So, so I see in your background also, because I have to mention, because people that know that I like the channel, they know I kind of summon when it's spring, because at the same time spring usually hits, I have a Bell's Oberon in my hand. Mm-hmm. So are you a big fan of the Bell's Oberon as well, or?
I am. So Bell's is like one of my favorite non-Kentucky breweries. I've always enjoyed their beers. Two Hearted, just one of my favorite IPAs. They always put out good stuff. Their amber, even their seasonal stuff. So yes, Bell's is one of my favorites. One of the reasons I am going up to Kalamazoo to visit Bell's. I love Bell's enough that I named my dog Oberon. So
that's cool.
So currently Oberon is sleeping on the couch. It's always a weird conversation when anyone asks, what's your dog's name? And I'm like, Oberon. They're like, oh, where's that from? And it's like, he's named after a beer. Like, it's a very awkward conversation when the person doesn't know that it's a beer. Or, I mean, technically the beer is named after a Shakespeare character, but I didn't name him after the Shakespeare company. I named him after, or the Shakespeare character. I named him after the beer. So you either get two reactions. You're just like, oh, or like, you named it after the beer? Like, that's awesome. So I had to get an Oberon sign to, celebrate getting him. And Oberon Day is coming up. So that's his, I have declared that's his unofficial birthday. So we're going to have a big party.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, well, that's your Bill and Ted right there with the Oberon. So
yeah.
You know what Oberon is?
Yeah. So it's been a fun, explanation. I'm like, oh, I always have to explain. I'm like, I'm not like weird about beer. I work in the beer industry. It's just one of my favorite. Like, feel like I have to explain myself in a weird, not in a weird way, but it is. People are like, when you see people's looks, like she named her dog after a beer. It's one that you kind of have to explain.
But if that person knows Oberon, they're like, well, yeah, it's Oberon.
Yeah. I mean, he's got an Oberon leash. Like, he's decked out in his Bell's Oberon stuff. So he can go to the couple of the liquor stores here. They're dog friendly, and people just like love it. They're like, oh my God, that's such a great name for a dog. Like, he's got his leash. So they give him all the treats.
I think one of the funniest things I've seen with Oberon is usually we have a couple of beer festivals here that are pretty good size for Cincinnati Beer Fest. I don't know if you ever had a chance to come up here when we do this. Yep. Okay. And Bell's would be here, and Bell's would have the Oberon chapstick, basically. And it was Oberon flavor. You're like, what?
Yeah, I've definitely had some Oberon chapstick.
Yeah, they fly off the table.
Yeah,
people definitely do enjoy those. Yeah,
they're about to come out with their flamingo fruit tart is coming out right now, I think, and then Oberon's next. So, like I said, they just do some really great stuff. And Two Hearted was kind of one of those IPAs that I fell in love with from the very beginning. So they've always had a soft spot in my heart.
Yeah. And, now, were you able to get the double Two Hearted?
Yeah. Yes.
What were your thoughts on that?
So I like IPAs, don't get me wrong, but some of those double ones are just a little too boozy for me. So I'm not a super big fan of the double Two Hearted, but I did get my hands on the Black Hearted IPA that they did. Was their black IPA.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
It helps when the rep in Louisville, and you name your dog after one of his beers, you get some perks from it. He got 5 bottles of it, only 5, and he gifted me one of them.
That's awesome.
Because it was a Michigan exclusive, or it might have just been the Eccentric Cafe exclusive, but it was so good. Like, their Hearted IPA series is fantastic. So if you're in Michigan and you haven't tried Black Hearted, highly recommend it. Or if you can buddy up with one of the rep in your area, try to weasel a Black Hearted out of them. It was.
I heard good things about it.
Black IPAs are just such a different type of style, but one that I enjoy incredibly. So I was very lucky. I didn't know he was bringing it to me. He showed up one day with it, and I wanted to hug him so hard. We can't do that. We can't hug. So I'm like,
yeah, Stone had their subliminally come back out, subliminally self-conscious black IPA. So I had done a review on that a while back, and it was nice to have them bring that back out. But I like a nice black IPA when they come out. Not a lot of breweries are doing them, but it seems like more breweries are stepping into doing them now. I don't know if you guys are planning to do anything like that as well, but I am seeing them pop up more.
I don't get to say what beers we brew, but I definitely plant seeds.
Yeah.
I continually talk about certain styles until they're like, oh, we should do this style. And I'm like, it worked.
Jedi mind tricks. I like it.
Yeah, I'm just like, a nice, Pilsner, a good crispy light Pilsner. And I just keep talking about it. And then I finally see, they're like, oh, we're going to brew a Pilsner. And I'm like, it worked.
So, right. Got the memo.
So right now I keep mentioning Schwartz beers, which is basically just
I do
like a black lager.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping if I just keep mentioning them and keep mentioning Schwartz beers, that one day they're just gonna be like, yeah, we just brewed a Schwartz beer today. I'll be like, ha, it worked again.
A Schwartz beer, I do like that. One of the styles I'm really more and more intrigued. I did my podcast earlier today, and I talked about it was really the Ross beer style. I love the smokiness out of it. So I had last week I had done, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, the Slankerla Weizen version. I had done the oak version before. I want to get a couple of their other ones because they're like the OG of like Ross beers, right? So, but I just love that style. I mean, it just makes me, I joke like it makes me want to go out to a campfire or grab an axe and throw in a plaid shirt and chop down a tree. I mean, it's just like it's such an outdoor woodsy type beer. It's just sit out there, especially if the weather breaks, it'd be perfect. So you take that, and if you're like having some smoked food, like barbecue or something like that, I put them together, and then man, it's just on. It's just I tell people if you like a smokiness, you need to try Rouse beers.
Yeah, see, I'm not super into smoked beers. I'm like the exact opposite of everything you just said.
So you're not cutting down trees.
No, so Gallant Fox has a smoked cherry wheat on, and I was so excited to try it. I'm like, this is going to be the smoked beer that I like, and I tried it, and I was like, I do not like this. It was just like I tried a little sip, and I was like, nope, too much. It feels like I'm drinking a fire pit, and any smoked beer, and I'm like, I just can't do it. But some people have recommended some like not so heavy smoked beers as good ones to kind of, try out first and work your way into. So I've got to be on the lookout for those.
Well, it's like, as you know, from tasting all the different beers, your palate is going to change over a period of time as well. So it's like I have friends that hated barley wines the first time they tasted them. 2 years later, they enjoy them like crazy. So it's just a matter of that. It's a matter of getting the right one, too, because if you do get the wrong one too early, it turns you off possibly like that. Like I tell people, like when people ask like different beers, maybe try for friends going into trying to get them to craft beer, coming out of kind of macro type things. You have your blonde type ales or your golden ales or things a little easier. Like you want to transition them right into an IPA because it's going to be a quick turnoff most likely if they're used to drinking a Miller Lite or a Coors and they jump right over. But there's other styles you kind of get them weaned in a little bit and then they start to grow from there. So
yeah, I got my start drinking blondes, wheats, all the light stuff, and then you kind of just progress slowly into IPAs. So I don't think some people are like, oh, I don't like craft beer, I don't like IPAs. I'm like, well, that's not. I mean, yes, IPAs are the dominant style, but there's some really good light lagers and pilsners and wheats and lighter beers that you probably are used to that these smaller breweries make that you should try and probably enjoy, and then like you said, your palate changes. So I always tell people, just because you don't like IPAs doesn't mean you just don't like craft beer. Yeah. So obviously a big section of it, but a lot of breweries are, moving back and doing those light lagers and nice pilsners right now, which is an awesome trend to see. Yeah,
it's a nice little change. It's funny, wheat beers were one of the styles I wasn't as really enamored with when I was kind of started going through doing a lot of different beer stuff until I come back again to Oberon. And Oberon has a pale wheat ale. And it was like, wait a minute, this is a little bit different. It's got me a little bit more of a hop bite to it. It's got a little bit more smooth. I mean, it's just like it's not overly fruity like some of the wheat ales I have been going through. And another reason why I like Oberon, because that little hop thing to it, they kind of switched it out by making it a pale wheat ale versus a regular wheat ale too. So, it's one of our other buddies. He's like, there's no such thing as a pale wheat. It's a wheat ale or it's not a wheat. Like, oh. And then they got recognized as a style. He's like, I don't believe.
Well, the thing about wheat ales too is you have your Belgian wheat ales and your American wheat ales. Your Belgians are going to be more of your clovey banana ones, where your American wheat ales are going to be more of your citrus and the ones you're used to, like a Bell's, a Gumball Head. So those type of wheat. So wheat ales that have a very wide spectrum. So you got to figure out which ones you like too, or you like them both. See, I actually prefer the American ones over the Belgian ones. So.
Okay. Well, it's funny, like Gumball Head, that's another one. Like I had the Three Floyds truck one time at Beer Fest, and it was just like lined up, like back, like you don't see like the lines on this place. Everybody's lined up, and they went Gumball Head. Like that is such a huge hit around this area. So it's one of the great beers they do.
That and what's the other big one that they do? Their IPA that people
they got Zombie Dust.
Zombie Dust.
Yeah,
I never understood.
A lot of people think Zombie Dust is an IPA, but it's not. It's actually a pale ale.
Yeah.
That they hopped up, but the lines are so blurred it confuses people.
I like that beer, don't get me wrong, but people go crazy over it.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the Zombie Dust, it was such a draw over the years, kind of like your Heady Topper or something like that, where if you weren't seeing it in that region, you knew about it. So I think that kind of added to the lore. When you did see it, you had to get it. Now it sits on, I don't know about that in Louisville, but up here it sits on shelves.
Yeah. No, I've seen it on shelves here.
So much of it, and it's kind of like, there's Zombie Dust. No, I still got buddies that when they see it, they buy it instantly. But to me, it's kind of like, it's a good pale ale. It's probably one of the top pale ales I think I've had, but there's other stuff. Like I just bought one of their other ones they came out with, which was an Irish Red Ale. There's not enough Irish Red Ales, I think, out there in the market. And going to St. Patty's Day next week, I'm going to do a St. Patty's Day stream. I want some Irish beers. Everybody thinks Guinness and a Stouts, but a nice Irish Red Ale. Great Lakes does a good one with Conway as well with theirs. So
I actually just picked up two of those today.
Yeah, see, so like I like to see that style.
Yeah, we're releasing our Irish Red next week, but you're up in Northern Kentucky, and Wooden Cask and Newport makes a very good Irish Red Ale. Yeah,
yes, I know Randy over that Wooden Cask, so I always get some stuff. I actually just picked up a few of his barrel-aged beers when I was at one of our, Jungle Gyms, because you've been up here, so I went over there and I got a couple of his stuff over there too.
They're a brewery that always has multiple barrel-aged beers on at a time.
Oh yeah, and I don't know if you know, but Randy used to be with what's the other brewery? Rivertown, and then he left there to start Wooden Cask and everything. So, but he's a great guy, great brewer, comes up with some great ideas for the beers. And when they opened up, I was actually over there for their opening and the ribbon cut in and all that kind of stuff, and saw some videos there at the brewery back then when he opened that up. We had a blast and stuff. So I always catch up with him when I can, but a great guy. Yeah. And I'm just, with everything, and that's the other thing I was getting into when we talked a little bit. I mean, right now they've had to readjust things with the whole COVID type stuff. How are you guys doing as well? Have you guys had to see any major adjustments? How's it playing out for you down there?
Yeah, so we opened in July, so we don't really know normal. It's funny, Kentucky just increased capacity to 60%. It went from 50 to 60. So that means we could only add four chairs. So we have this section of the bar that's kind of off to the side. And so what we did is we put 4 chairs there, kind of 2 and 2, or if it's a group of 4, which we get in a lot because it's like 2 couples. And this weekend working with people at the bar was so weird. Like, because we haven't really had that because we haven't done bar seating. But if you've ever been to a tap room, it's small. Like with 50%, that means only 28 people in there, not including the bartenders. And we were thinking about the other day, and we were like, we can probably seated only have 40 chairs anyway. And that would just be people around the bar. Obviously, if you're not at a capacity limit, you can have people just standing there or a lot more. But we're a small tap room. But what has really helped us is we have a lot of outdoor seating.
Good.
So during the winter months, it was a lot harder because we'd be at capacity or we'd be busy and there'd only be 28 people inside the tap room. Mm-hmm. So it was hard, but I mean, we still had, we, like I like to say, we paid the bills, we kept the lights on. That's all that mattered. But we also, had people in the tap room. But now that it's gotten warmer, it's been incredible. People coming out, sitting at all the tables, all the benches outside. So we have definitely weathered the storm, and we'll be okay, which is awesome, to say when you've seen so many breweries sadly not make it through. So we've, can sales helped. We did a lot of to-go sales. I mean, like I said, we opened during this, so we still don't know what normal is, but we're like, right now we're good. So we're like, we can't wait to see what great is, which we hope we are getting there sooner than later.
So you got like the curbside pickup and stuff that you're doing there. Are you guys doing deliveries as well or anything? Or is it kind of just curbside and now you have the seats where you can fill?
Yeah, so we're not doing delivery, we do curbside.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that was not even curbside. You pick up, people place an order online, or they call. It was maybe 1 out of 10 orders that would do curbside because it's not big. It's to come in and be out within, 3 to 5 minutes. Especially if they were getting a growler filled, because we didn't start canning until December. So if they had a growler fill and they brought their own growler, of course they would have to come in. But yeah, like I said, we did the whole crowler, or not crowler. We did not do crowlers. We did growler and howlers, which are the 32 ounces, up until about December when we canned our first beer. So from July to December, they technically, I always forget, they opened in April, but I don't count that because in April, and from April till July, they didn't have people coming in to sit inside the tap room because you couldn't. So when the governor lifted that restriction and people could sit in the tap room is when I like to say we officially opened. So from July to December, it was all growler and howler fills to go, and people supported us. I don't know if you're familiar with Louisville, but there's a lot of different neighborhoods. So we're in the Clifton neighborhood, and we're the only brewery there. So it was really cool to see that the Clifton neighborhood come out and support us, and a lot of people were excited that they could walk to the brewery now and walk to a brewery, and there's a brewery in their neighborhood. And so the support from the Clifton neighborhood and then just all of Louisville has been truly incredible.
Yeah, Louisville, that's why I want to get back down there just to get around as well. Some of the good things you have down there and the different area. Last time I was down there was actually, I know Sam over at Against the Grain, and it was when they got flooded from whatever storm it was a couple years ago. And it was like, how do you get down here? And I can't even, they're closed. And it's like, but I haven't been able to get back down there since then. But with you and them and some of the other stuff that are happening, it definitely makes it worth the trip. And then other people that are down around that area, if you're here in the local, the people watching in the Cincinnati area, or if you're down around Louisville, definitely a lot of great things that are taking place down there as well. Yeah,
the beer scene is definitely, it's grown so much in the past year. And, we still have, that I know of, 2 breweries in planning for 2021, which is awesome to see that even though we have, well, I guess 3 considering Highwire.
That's going to be huge with them coming in too. Yeah.
And they have a full-time sales rep here. So clearly their beer sells well. I like their beer. So I'm excited to see what they do with this space that they're moving in is very centrally and greatly, it's a great location. So I'm excited to see them come in, and then the 2 other breweries that are in planning. So it's going to be, we're obviously a bourbon destination, but I think eventually we're going to be a Midwest craft beer destination, kind of like we'll never get to an Asheville, but I think we'll get, pretty closer to something similar.
Well, you think of up where I'm at here in Cincinnati, I mean, technically, depending on the size from the nano breweries up to the larger breweries, I think we have probably we're between 60 to 70, although probably 58 or so get put out there kind of as the big names. But, with that being only, like I said, 70 miles north of where you're at, and then you're kind of just, another 45 from Cincinnati, get a Dayton. Dayton's got their beer scene going. It was almost like you're getting a whole trail kind of coming down. And if you hop over to Lexington, you got Lexington doing some stuff there as well. So this whole region is just becoming so big. And really, we're not that far when you count Indiana, something like Munster out there with Three Floyds, or where you're thinking about 450 North, where they're located at. So there's a lot of different stuff within, a couple hours perspective in this region, which is awesome for the beer as well.
Yep. Lexington's great as well. And we're only about an hour apart from each other. And again, you can hit those bourbon distilleries. Most of them are located between Louisville and Lexington. So it's a good mid stop point. Yeah.
Beer and bourbon. What else do you need? Right. Barbecue, make it 3 Bs. Speaking of 210 says, we love our bourbon, especially our barrel aged beers. Yeah. I've seen some of the bourbon stuff. Definitely know you guys enjoy the bourbon. So you said I love bourbon. I can't drink it now. I can't have the ABV now, unfortunately. Oh, that's sad. But you don't even know if you're drinking the beers and you're doing other stuff. You don't have to drink the bourbon. Let's see. Let me see. Trying to see if there are more comments here. Z said a lot of breweries don't age it long enough. So there are some breweries. I mean, that's kind of with the whole brewing thing, right? You're kind of estimating things, and you're going back, you're checking, you're pulling a sample, and you're trying to determine when maybe the best one or best time to actually pull that beer, right? So
yeah, most breweries I know do 4 to 6 months.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty much, I mean, there's some of the ones that are a little bit, I guess, that are bigger that have that space where they can go like out, longer than that. But depending on the size of your brewery, what you're doing, space is also, a limitation. So you might not be able to hold stuff out there as long as you would like to try on some things. Let me see here. And thank you, Blaze, enjoying the show. Smash that like, fam. Appreciate that. CB in the house. Cheers, Rajay, and Blake for as well. Yes, there. CB, one of my good followers, friends here. He's out of West Virginia, so he doesn't drink, but he loves watching the show, which I always appreciate. So I get a few people that don't drink, but they like just to come and find out more. And that's the whole thing. Beer can draw you in so many different ways. Like, you don't have to be a drinker to enjoy some of the things that you're saying. Big Rome says, "What up, y'all? I need a beer." We're here in the right spot. 210 thought Oberon was awesome. What a cool name for a dog. So yeah.
Oberon is very much asleep on my couch right now.
Yeah. Oberon's taking a rest. He knows next week's a big week, so I mean.
Yeah, we got to gear up for Oberon Day.
You got Talana saying, hey, so Talana is Afro Beer Chick. So glad to have you along, my friend. So she's in the house as well, and she does some great stuff on her channel. So if you haven't checked out Afro Beer Chick, she just launched a YouTube channel. Make sure you guys definitely check her out as well. Let me see here. Everybody's saying hi in the chat, waving hello. She actually says, I want an old school IPA, the days where it was a clean IPA, no adjunct crispness, straight to the point. So this is a nice classic.
I prefer the West Coast over the East Coast, so that's kind of where I agree with you. Make IPAs clear again is what they say, right?
Yeah. Oh Lord, we're gonna start the West Coast East Coast war again. Come on now.
No, I like both, but I definitely prefer my West Coast. That's for sure. And I'm assuming that war has been fought on here before.
No, it's just the old, Tupac and Biggie and stuff like that back in the day. Cheers. There's Todd. There's cheers, Rod and Kinsey. So Todd's in the house. And thank you, Todd, again. Todd's the one that brought us together here. So awesome. He says, you guys are making some good beers at Gallant. So there you go.
We're trying. Well, I don't do any of the brewing. They're trying, the owners and brewers.
She just provides the ideas.
I help market them and make them come to life.
Let's see. BC said he did review the Black Hearted as well. Let us know what you think of it there, BC. Let me see here. Afro Beer Chick says she enjoyed the Calder's Black Calder's Black IPA. I have not had that one. See, I say there's more breweries that are popping them up now, which is awesome. 210, love Black IPAs, love brewing and drinking them. Wish more breweries will put them out. So there's another one like this, Todd saying he wished he would see more out there as well. And Todd at 21090, they do brew their beers and talk about a lot of other ones as well. So that might be something you start whispering in the ear of the brewers.
Black IPA.
What about Black IPA?
One of the owners was pretty jealous. I got a Black Hearted, so maybe you want your own Black IPA, brew it.
Yeah, we can make one of these.
Yeah, hey, you realize you have the ability to make your own.
Yeah. Let me see here. Everybody's kind of salutations. You see that she wasn't as big into the smoky beers either, which it's all about following what suits you there, but a nice classic style that I'm happy to see that someone's still making it. And that's the cool thing about so many different things when you explore in craft beer is like, Slankerna has been around, I think it's 14 something, but they weren't really seen as maybe as prominent now because of us not really having that craft beer type boon at the time. But now that we have all the craft beer stuff, you start experimenting with more things. You come across this brewery that's been out there for all these years that you never had. And it's like, wow, this is totally something different. You start getting some of those other breweries out of Bavaria and different parts of Germany, and then like, wow, never had this before. I can't believe they've been brewing like since 1601 or something. You know, it expands so much from what you're seeing there. Let me see. There's more here. So we always tease Afro Beer Chick. She says my palate hasn't changed on porters. So she loves stouts, but she doesn't like porters, you know. And we always tease her like, well, you know, stout is just a bigger porter. Right. And she doesn't like to buy that argument at all. But she has had a couple porters she has enjoyed, but she's definitely more of that stout. I think it's more the thinness of it, the watery type effect you get with some of the porters, and of course you have the difference in the malts there. But you know, we try to get her around. One of the guys we mutually know is a Daddy Porter. He has like a YouTube channel and a blog and a website and all that stuff. And so it's kind of like his Porter. This is his name, Daddy Porter. Right. So we like always tease with Twanda about the Porter thing. So yeah.
That's funny because usually you hear people like, I like porters, but I don't like stouts. So it's interesting to see the opposite effect.
Yeah. VC said he's drinking a Natty Daddy, which brings me to an interesting question. So is there a beer that you like to have once in a while, considered, I don't know, a guilty pleasure or whatever like that? Something like you wouldn't think you would actually drink because you are working like in the brewing industry. You know, like some of the guys, like people get surprised sometimes when they see a craft guy drinking a Bud Light or something. Right. Like, is there a beer that's like kind of like off that craft radar that you still like to go back to once in a while?
My one summer, like everyone has like their summer lager that they really enjoy. So mine is very, not weirdly, but I really like Pacifico. I believe it's just a Mexican lager. But in the summer, I always have like a 12-pack or 6-pack of those in my fridge. But that's nothing too crazy. But now I usually, if I want something light, like a Bud Light, I just find a nice like lager from a local brewery. So I don't really have a good answer to that because.
Well, Pacifico would be one. I mean, it's just something that's kind of, kind of one of the larger beer companies.
When I went on vacation, or not really vacation, but I went on a small weekend trip back in May when I thought things were getting better and safe to travel again to the beach. Anytime I saw Pacifico on draft, I always got it. And it tastes better by the ocean.
It tastes better with tacos too, but yeah.
Does not have the same effect here in Kentucky. Drink it.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't had a Pacifico in a while, but the last time I had it was actually at one of the I say the Mexican restaurants, but it's more like the American Mexican restaurant, because mostly the Mexican is just Dos Equis that they have there, or one of the Mexican type beers. But the Americanized ones, they'll have Pacifico all the time. And
yeah, the nice thing about going to the beach is most places have it on draft, and that was kind of cool. It was refreshing to see because I'd always been just drinking out of bottles, and that's one of the ones where I have to get it in a bottle. I don't even know if they make it in a can, but I think I would still have to get in a bottle, kind of like a Corona. It's preferred in a bottle.
And do you like Corona? Do you have that once in a while as well?
No, I can't deal with the skunkiness of it. I don't know if, I just can't do the skunkiness of it.
Yeah. I'm not, I haven't had Corona since I think college at that.
We'll just keep it at that, I guess.
Like, no.
Yeah, the only light lager I'm ever reaching for is a Pacifico.
Yeah.
I mean, I like a Modelo, any of those kind of Mexican lagers, but yeah, definitely a Pacifico is my go-to. Then maybe a Modelo, or probably just a Modelo would be second.
One that tripped me up a couple of years ago that I actually enjoyed more than I thought I actually would, but I did it because I found out it actually had won in a blind tasting at a beer tasting event or whatever, like nobody knew what it was Natterday.
Oh, the pink lemonade one?
The pink lemonade one for some reason. And I'm not a fan of shandies. Like shandies, like people that I know get excited when the summer shandy comes out from Kugel, and it's just like pass. Wow. And I've actually that's the only one I've actually had like somebody pour the beer out like in a bar, like, because they were doing a Leinenkugel promotion, and I wanted the glass. I have a glass collection behind me, and they had a cool Leinenkugel glass, but they wouldn't sell it to me unless they got the shandy in it. I even tried to offer to pay for another beer to go in, and they wouldn't let me do it. So I was like, well, okay, go to Phil. And I tried. I was like, quarter way down. No, I can't do anymore. Just go ahead.
Yeah, the shandies are a little too sweet for me as well.
Yeah, but for some reason, the Natter Day, maybe because it hit during that summertime, but it was just like a nice fit with the weather and like that. It became an easy drinker for me for like a couple years ago that summer. Like just pick up a 4-pack for like, I don't know, $2.99 or whatever the price was. And it's just like an easy drinking things. I don't know why I could drink that, but couldn't drink the shandy, but it just worked out that way.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what we got summer coming up for our beers. The crazy thing is, like I said, we opened in July, so you know, we'll be trying to figure out our spring, early summer lineup for beer wise. But we'll, also at Gallant Fox is one of the things I think is really interesting about us is we have yet to brew the same beer twice.
Nice. Okay.
Most, breweries, they pick like 4 or 5 beers to make their cores, and we might eventually do that, but we want to kind of cycle through all of the beers. Well, not me, but all of the beers that our brewers have in mind and see which ones do well, and then ones that they can just bring out whenever or if they're seasonal. So everyone's like, when's this beer coming back? And I'm like, it might not, or it might. It just, It depends how well it's sold, or, if we have a bunch of IPAs and we just kind of rotate through those, we'll never have 2 of those on at the same time. So it's interesting. It makes a lot of people mad, but also makes a lot of people come back because they're like, is this beer on again yet? Is this beer on yet again? And we're like, no. And so it's a different concept that I've only seen a few other breweries do. It's different, and sometimes it makes me mad because all I want is a certain beer back.
Right.
And I'm like, I may never get it back, or I might not get it back for like 2 more years. So it's different, but it's fun. It keeps us all on our toes, I guess you could say, about what's coming next, because I never know. I'm always like, what did you brew today? And I don't even know. They said they were brewing something this week, and I was like, okay, like didn't even see it coming. So it's fun. I'm like, when are we gonna repeat a brew? And they're like, oh, we don't know yet. We still have a few more recipes we want to go through.
Yeah. Well, you do that, and over a period of time, I mean, you can easily track who's asking for what for people that have been having them. So you kind of figure, okay, well, these are, at a certain point, you say these are the ones that are most popular. Or let's make these kind of our core, and then we'll build around it. So being as young as you are, you're definitely in the testing stage. Yeah,
we definitely have a few IPAs. Of course, we know we're going to bring back, some of our dark beers. We're like, this will come back. Especially our seasonals, our Oktoberfest will come back. Our Christmas ale will come back. I'm trying to think what other seasonals will come back. But it's also fun to like make these other recipes, or for the brewers to make these other, beers that they've had these recipes for. They were home brewers before. So I can get into that after this, but it's fun to see, they did these for so long. Let's see if people like them. And if they don't get their feelings hurt, then they're like, okay, we'll just, we tried it and it didn't work, but we know they like these beers. So we'll eventually bring those back.
And Todd actually mentioned Cobra Kai from Gallant Fox. So now you have seen the Karate Kid, right? Or have you not seen the Karate Kid? No. Have you seen Cobra Kai things then? Or I've
seen it on, obviously it's on Netflix right now.
Okay. Well, at least you saw that part.
Yeah, I know what Cobra Kai is.
Okay.
So, I'll give you just kind of the brief history, which kind of ties into Cobra Kai PA. So the 2 owners are Patrick and Roger. They were friends. They actually, I think they either met through their wives or met through work. But anyway, they've been, good friends for a while. Both were into home brewing. And, they did the home brewing at their houses. Then they moved to the garage. Well, then one of their wives didn't like that she couldn't pull her car into the garage because home brewing took over the garage. So she kicked him out of the garage and said, you can't brew at home anymore. I want to pull my car into the garage, especially in the winter here in Kentucky. The cold car is no fun. So they ended up just like renting this like small space where they could home brew. And then with their friends, they were just going to like play poker, watch football games, sporting events. And, they were doing that for a couple months, and everyone was like, you guys should open a brewery. Like the intention was to never open a brewery. They each had day jobs. They liked their jobs. But, they just kept getting this feedback on their beers, and the spot that they had. They're like, you could just take over this whole building and, open a brewery and, you guys make good beers. And so they eventually did. And it was like 2 years of labor, from the time that they decided they were going to open up the brewery to actually opening. And it wasn't just COVID that pushed it back, because they did all like the construction a lot, like not all of it, but most of like like you walk in the tap room, most of the things you see were done by them too, with maybe help from friends. But with Cobra Kai, the Cobra Kai IPA, that's a mango habanero IPA. Oh. And then the habanero is very, very present. It's not your light. It's not a light habanero. It's very spicy. So that was one of the beers that they actually homebrewed, a few years ago, and they bottled it, which is funny. It's like one of the 2 beers that they ever bottled, and they bottled it with a label. So it's cool to see that Cobra Kai IPA in that bottle. Obviously, it's a beer you never want to drink. It's like 2 or 3 years old. Next to our canned Cobra Kai IPA, and I look at them like, this is what you guys did. You went from this kind of homebrew, it looks like a homebrew bottle if you're familiar, to a nice IPA where you guys have done something successful and well. So, but yeah, so just I always like to joke, most breweries open because they were home brewers, but they were as well. But I think theirs is funny just because their wife. I attribute their success to their wives, because their wives are the ones that kicked them out of the garage and made them go to a different space, which definitely led to Gallant Fox opening. Yeah,
give them that push they needed.
Yeah, he'll tell you, he's like,
will do that.
He'll tell you, he's like, my wife did not like her car sitting outside in the winter, so she was like, you got to go move the homebrew stuff. I need to park in the garage.
Yeah. You got to get up on out of here.
Yeah. I'd be the same way. If I had a garage and couldn't park in it during the winter, I'd be like, we need to fix this. You can move. I'm parking my car in the garage.
Yeah. I mean, definitely with some of the winters we can get in Kentucky, you look at they're scraping and dealing with that. I mean, we got a Grand Cherokee now that we usually use, and working from home. I was working from home before the COVID type stuff on the day job part. So it's like, I don't have to really go anywhere, but now that you can just hit a button and let it heat up itself and defrost itself, not to go outside, it makes it so much easier.
No, I still have to go out there, scrape. If I know I'm leaving, I always go out 5 minutes before, turn on, let it heat up. And I'm like, I'm just going to take that risk. If someone wants to steal it, go for it. They'll be a little bit warmer.
Yeah, it's funny. I see those news stories and they're like, you shouldn't start your car in the winter because it doesn't really help. Like, it helps. It helps to get it when it's nice and warm.
And I don't have to sit out there and scrape. It defrosts itself. Yeah. So basically, the wife didn't want to have to scrape her car anymore. She wanted the garage back. And that's kind of how Gallant Fox started. And then the Gallant Fox name, I'll just keep continuing on this little story. Gallant Fox was the second overall Triple Crown winner. And obviously, if you're not in Kentucky, you might not know what that means. Triple Crown is a horse who wins the 3 main races, the Derby, the Belmont, and the Preakness. Don't know if that's the order. I get the second 2 all confused. But when Gallant Fox, he won all 3 races, but I think it was back in the either late 30s or 40s. I don't remember the dates exactly. They didn't call it a Triple Crown. So later when they called the winner of the 3 races a Triple Crown winner, they went back and named him and then the horse before him who won the 3 races a Triple Crown winner. So the name Gallant Fox is a tribute to just being in the city of Louisville, being a horse city. And the owners felt that they could have fun with a logo and having a fox in it and having kind of a mascot for our brewing company. And we definitely have fun with the fox. We have a lot of fox themed beers, which gets a little confusing as a bartender because there's a lot of Star Fox, Foxborough, Fly Fox, Foxpaw. So definitely poured some wrong beers sometimes because they're all fox themed, but it's fun. It's fun to play on the words of the fox and fox themed stuff. And
I mean, I got to ask the obvious. There had to be a foxy lady, right?
We haven't done a foxy lady, not yet.
Really?
No, we have one of our shirts says Foxy AF.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny.
That's one of Jimmy's biggest songs. I mean, I would think That would play.
Oh, trust me, it's coming. If it has Fox in it and it's popular, it's coming.
Do a Jeff Foxworthy beer. That might go over well in Kentucky as well.
Yeah. We'll probably stay away from that one. Yeah, we've got like a bunch of cool, we look up Fox, Fox characters, Fantastic Mixer Fox. Like the cool thing is there with being an animal and it's a different animal, but like a basic animal, we have a lot of fun with the names.
Yeah.
And the artwork gets fun, and just using the label or the logo with some of our artwork and graphic design has been a lot of fun, because he is such a cool, whoever did our logo, I'm not sure who it was. I can't remember off the top of my head. He did a really good job with it. It kind of made it a little retro. We knew since Gallant Fox was a horse, back in I believe it was the 40s that he won. Let me Google that real quick. That we wanted kind of an old school label. We didn't want anything super modern.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so he won the Triple Crown in, I believe it was 1930. Yeah, 1930. He won the Triple Crown. So we wanted an old school label that kind of played into a 1930s horse.
Yeah.
It's an old school fox with the monocle. So yeah, I believe he has a name, but I cannot think of it right now. I think the owners named him, but I can't remember what the name was.
Let's see. Well, right now I've got this one here. I'll pull it up, and if you want to talk about the one here, which this one takes me back to the days of Mike Tyson in the arcade. Mm-hmm. The Von Kaiser German Ale. So there's a look at this one here. 5.1 ABV. I can see on here it has the 3 different hops were used. Yep. That's what it looks like.
It's the German Noble hops, which again, I'm going to pull it up. I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, so our Von Kaiser we always joke that our brewer brews things and they're always a lot higher in ABV than he wanted them to be. So we're like, we need to brew a light beer. We need to get a light beer out. And they always, this is another homebrew recipe that they did, before we ever opened. So the German ale, it's a German ale only because we used noble hops, and it's got 3 noble hops, which is, I believe they used Hallertau, Saaz, and Spalt. I think those are the Saaz, not Saaz, sorry. And Spalt. So it's the 3 hops. It's just for me, I got a lot of citrus out of the hops. So it almost tastes like a citrus beer, but the best way, I'm like, it's not a fruity beer. It's a citrus beer in the sense you get a lot of citrus from the 3 hops. So it's very light, refreshing. I think we brewed it
than the other ones. You see,
yeah, it's a little cloudy. I think we brewed it like 2 months too early. It's going to it would be a great summer beer. And then Von Kaiser comes from the owner's days of playing the Mike Tyson Punch-Out game. It also we have our blonde is called 8-bit blonde.
Yeah,
so it spins off that kind of 8-bit theme of beers, of light beers that we do. I very much enjoyed it when I first tried it. I didn't know what to expect from it, but I just got so much like lemon and like orange citrus and orange peel from the hops. It was a nice surprise. And like you said, we really only, like, the only beer we ever had that was like less than 6% was our blonde ale. And we were like, we have to get a light beer on. Like of our own, we have guest taps that are light. We usually keep about 8 guest taps on as well. And we're like, we got to get a light beer on. So this was it. And now we've got a couple other light beers on now, just headed into spring and summer, but it's gone over really, really well. So we were, it's funny. Everyone's like, what's a German ale? I'm like, well, it's just it's a beer brewed with German hops, and it's light, and it's an ale and not a lager. So.
Yeah, I get like on the nose, like a floral and a lemon zest.
Yeah, I was like, you guys didn't put any like lemon in this beer? Like, I was like, at least for my palate, I picked up so much lemon.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming from the notes of the hops there. It's got a little bit of a citrusy underbase to it as far as the nose. It almost smells a little bit of a light Joy dishwasher type scent. Like the Joy dishwasher soap, you get a little bit of that light scent with it.
Well, I hope it doesn't taste like dishwasher soap.
No, but one of the things that you learn over the years, like reviewing beers and going through different things, it really becomes very interesting, the adjectives that we use and stuff. So it's kind of like, I always joke around, like beer is the only thing where someone can say it's got a musky scent to it. And people are like, oh, really? Okay. They're all happy about it. Like, like anywhere else, like, who would want to see, who would like smell like gym socks around, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, with the sense of smell, it's all about, what do you call that? Oh my gosh, memories. So
yeah. It triggers different things that come up.
Things. And it's not a bad thing. I guess sometimes soap can smell good. So
yeah, it's definitely light for the body.
Yeah, it was turned out very well. So we were excited about it. But I was like, we need to bring this back midsummer. I was like, if we're gonna rebrew a beer, it needs to be this one.
Yeah, it's got a cleanliness to it as well, and the taste cleans the palate nicely. I could see drinking something like this would actually like eating some sushi. For some reason, sushi pops in my head, like enjoying that with it. Some of the different sashimi type pieces. I think it'd be kind of a nice little rinser to the palate to go along. Funny, when you drink beer, you see different things. You imagine in your head that could possibly be. I could have the same beer and be at the ballpark watching the Reds play and be throwing down dogs.
It's a great summer beer. So yeah. I think we'll definitely bring it back. Like, I think they realized quickly, we definitely brought this one out a little too early. But then again, they just don't know, because these are all first time brews of theirs, and they're just doing old homebrewed recipes.
Yeah, like sometimes we talk about beers, calling them lawnmower beers. Mm-hmm. After you kick back, after you do the yard work or whatever, or you're like grilling or something like that and everything. Right. And you want something, this is easily one that you can do an easy drinker to have fill that need there.
It is a good lawnmower beer.
Let me see here. Steve has said good night to everyone. He's actually over in the UK, so I don't know if I missed you out, but have a good night, Steve. He stayed up for a bit because he's 5 hours ahead of us. So over there it's 2 a.m. So it's nice we have some of the UK guys that do watch and some great stuff there as well. And let me see. I'm trying to get down here. Oh, you got Wayne House. Wayne is actually new, doing a lot of the different beer reviews too, and says hello to everyone. Todd's like, get down here. He wants me down in Louisville. Like, we planned to set up to do some stuff after, but then everything broke loose. It's funny. I talked about Cincinnati Beer Fest. So last year, Todd came up to the Beer Fest, him and his wife Shannon, and we went to the Beer Fest, and it happened to be just the week before all hell broke loose with COVID, right? So
I remember.
Were you at the one here last March and everything?
No, I didn't make it to that one, but I remember it being right before everything, got canceled. Yeah,
literally, if it would have been another weekend, it would have got canceled.
You know what? I wasn't at that one because I was at Tailspin here in Louisville. Tailspin.
That's where Todd was supposed to go, but Todd came here instead. Yeah, so Tailspin. Yeah.
So I was like, there was a reason. Yeah, I wasn't at Cincy because I was down here in Louisville at Tailspin, which was literally the weekend. I remember at Tailspin, they were like, if anyone doesn't feel well, please leave. And we're just like, okay, and then not knowing what was about to come.
Yeah. Feel well, like hangover, not feel well, or are we looking for something like either way, just leave, right? But but if it would have been another weekend, we wouldn't have had it. It was like right before everything took place. But hopefully we'll have it back next year, because they already moved out to 2022, which is crazy. Because now they're thinking they can get people vaccinated towards the end of summer. Hopefully they make a change and at least bring back the fall one, because that's usually at the ballpark or near the ballpark. So if that can be adjusted, we'll see. Let me see here. Let me see. Yeah, Tremaine's in the house. That's one of my buddies up north here that watches. He's like, yeah, he always do. Every time I bring up summer shandies, he jokes back with me on that. Like, I do not love summer shandies. He's always trying to get me to do stuff with Shandy's.
While you read these comments, I'm going to go grab. I ran out of beer, so I need to go grab a beer.
Oh, yeah. Okay, definitely. Todd says ramping up in Louisville for sure with the beer scene there. ABC says need some bourbon. Well, Friday, ABC, right, for the Bourbon podcast. And again, ABC has their birthday this Friday. I actually have one tomorrow, so happy birthday to her. And I'm going to join her stream, I think, on Friday when she's going to have a birthday celebration. So Pisces are in the house tonight. Let's see here. Indy, good beer scene too. Have not looked at going up to Indy in a while. That might be something to actually do. Tasteless brown water is what ABC said about porter. We got to get you some good porters there. Try to decide between a beer, some whiskey, or apple pie moonshine. I mean, it is only Monday. I was going to say, why not all? But it is only Monday. So I do like some apple pie moonshine. I've not had apple pie moonshine in a while. Tremaine said Pacifico is a good choice for a hot day. It's an easy drinker for that heat, for sure. Dee, a buddy down in North Carolina, says, I see the Oberon's in the background. I'll be drinking more since basketball is back. Go Big Blue. He's a big Michigan fan. And had a little setback with Michigan against Michigan State, though. But yeah, he knows all about the Bells Oberon. Oh, let me see here. Thanks, BC. Thanks for joining in. You got to charge the phone. Been fun. Good night. You too, ABC. I'll talk to you soon. Dina in the house, washing down some sausage and mushroom pizza with a Harpoons cannoli stout. Now, that sounds interesting. I've not seen that one there. And also has the Carling Black Label in the fridge. So, on deck. Let's see, she likes the Leinenkugel Berry Weiss, which, I like it better than the lemon one, but I still can't drink too much of it. It's just too sweet for me. Berry Grape Shasta. Yeah, Todd says pretty spicy. It's good spicy beer. So he's actually.
I am a big baby. I am one sip of it. I am done. So they did a good job at actually making it a spicy beer. You get some of those, and they're not very spicy. They have a little kick, but I don't want to say we made the spiciest beer ever, but people have said it's one of the spiciest beers that they've had. So if you like spicy habanero, beers, IPAs, it's different because it's also an IPA. So, you're familiar with Country Boy. They've got the Cougar Bean, which is their habanero blonde ale.
Right.
So it was a little bit different. They mixed it up and did an IPA.
With you going up to Michigan and going to Bell's, you're probably going to get lucky enough that they actually have, and I've always wanted to taste it, but they have I want to say if it's a mango habanero Oberon, but you have to get it at the brewery. You have to get it there. So they have certain things that are only there available. So I know you're going to enjoy some of those.
I'm definitely going. I'm seeing what's in Larry's cellar.
Yeah. If you're able to smuggle some stuff back, just stop over here in Independence before you go to Louisville. That's all I'm saying.
So now I know how close you are. When I come from a holidays or whatever, I'll be bringing you some stuff too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're by Simon Kenton, you're like 10 minutes from my parents' house. So.
Oh yeah, they're just down and around the corner from where I'm at. Then so, and again, when I get down there, definitely see what you guys have on tap for sure.
You and Todd got to come in.
Yeah. I think Todd's already been out there as well. I think he went last weekend. I don't know if you happened to see him when he came out or not, but I think he went out last weekend and got something there too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him in a couple weeks. So.
Okay. Yeah, he's only because he's over on the Indiana side, but outside Louisville, like 10, 15 minutes or something. So.
Yeah, I was actually down in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, doing a Pink Boots Brew Day last weekend.
Oh, nice.
So the Western Kentucky has a chapter. It's just the Western Kentucky chapter. So we did our brew day last weekend. So our beer will either probably be ready next weekend or the weekend after.
Yeah. Yeah, they do some good things. I like seeing some of the stuff that Pink Boots is out there in different states, and see a lot of stuff on Twitter and also on LinkedIn where I do a lot of stuff. I see they're very interactive. They did the like the scholarship type stuff they were doing this past year, and so a lot of good things there. And like my whole thing, and I've brought it up on many a show in the past. It's just to me, it's just funny how in the industry that's now basically dominated by males, that it was females were the ones that really were running it for the longest time until it kind of being forced out of it, so to speak. Yeah. So it's just kind of interesting. Then you have like women trying to fight back into like they created it, like it's kind of like their thing, and it's, but it's just interesting when you see different things. So I'm glad to see a lot of activity taking place. Yeah,
I mean, women were the ones who, it's funny because they joke about women being like the ones who make the men the sandwich and stay at home and clean and cook. And I was like, they did that and also made beer way back when. Like that was part of their job too. So like we did it first. You just all ruined it and eventually took it over and called it yours. And we're slowly fighting back to make it equal again.
Yeah, well, as one of my viewers pointed out, I think it was last week or the week before, it was like when the men decide to capitalize on it, they get the money out of it, then they force the women out. But yeah, there was an article that it was out yesterday that I saw. I can't remember who put it out there. Like one of
the witches one,
the witches article.
Yeah, I read that.
Witches, and I've told people that over the years before. Like, there's a whole thing that goes back to. Yep. The whole idea of the witch is really that cauldron is where she was actually brewing beer, and all this tied to it and everything, and how they kind of negatively affected women doing that as they came up with this whole thing, making them seem like these witches and stuff when they were doing this. So it's a whole history behind all that stuff. It's just really interesting.
It was a fascinating and how a fascinating story to read, and how the hats were so that they could see themselves, like people could see them walking around, and the cats were to keep the mice away from the grain. And I'm like, I'm reading all this stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense. And I think I tweeted out after, I was like, I know what I'm being for Halloween next year, a brewer.
Yeah.
I'm being a brewer. But I was like, most people think I'm a witch. I'm like, no, I'm a brewer.
I'm a brewer. There you go.
I was like, this is what a brewer dressed like way back when.
The old school brewing outfit, yeah.
Nobody will get that, just me. But that's all that matters.
Well, people that know beer and know history should be able to get it as well, yeah.
I'll just print out copies of the article and hand them to people.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Martin. Thanks for swinging by as well, my friend. Good to see you as well. Hopefully things are good on your end. Seeing there's some other things in here. Dolly, I see you there. Good to see you also. Let me see. Dahlia says, what goes with spicy beer? Tacos? Actually, Mexican and like spicy beer, spicy food with like IPAs go together well.
Yeah. Maybe kind of like spicy Thai or...
Yeah. Curry. Yeah.
I'm trying to think what other good beer, cool beers we've got on right now that I think's different. You did it. Her cluster came picked up. Yep.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things we're doing right now, as I mentioned, we haven't rebrewed any of the same beer yet. So for March we decided to do a beer bracket. So basically, I went on Untapped. I took 16 of our top rated beers. Some I didn't do because I knew. So essentially, the winner of this beer bracket of the 16 beers is going to be rebrewed.
Oh, okay.
So there's some I didn't pick because I knew we were going to rebrew them regardless. So basically, I took 16 kind of I think it was at least in the top 20. There was like 2, 3, or 4 that I kind of skipped over. But I took our top 16 rated beers, put them in a bracket, randomly sorted between a malty and kind of, I call it the hobby region, but it's the non-malty region. And so right now we're still in the first round, but we're, putting it up to a poll every other day, each round, for our people on social media to vote. So, and then the winner of the bracket will be rebrewed. So it's funny. We're like, if you want to see this beer come back, you got to vote for it.
Yeah. A lot of people that were asking, like, when you brewing this beer again, here's your chance. Right?
So I am going to somehow get one of my favorite beers, Brack, and have everyone I know vote for it. I'm gonna rig the election by.
I was saying, are you planning to fix the game?
Me and somebody else were like, we need this beer back, so we're gonna get everyone. Like, we're gonna just go up to strangers and be like, "Can I see your Instagram? I need to vote for a beer."
Yeah, it's gonna be a scandal.
Like, it will be. They'll be like, "How did this beer win by like 100 votes?" So I'm like, I have no idea. I don't. People just love it, and they're gonna be. So, yeah. But I'm like, it's like one of those beers that I want them to rebrew, and I'm like, and a lot of people like it, so we're starting this like campaign to rig the bracket, and so, but that's just like a cool thing we're able to do, you know, it gets people excited about a beer bracket.
Let's see. Tremaine has said March Madness style, nice, and that's a good idea. Yeah. We actually have something in Cincinnati right now. It's kind of what you're doing, but it's different. They took the breweries in Cincinnati, and I think it was last week, where they took each of the breweries and chose 5 beers, and the people voted, and whoever got the 2 highest votes of the 5, they kept. And then just this week today, those beers are all battling kind of in the March Madness bracket, find out the top beer in Cincinnati. So they had all the ones that had like 2 from each brewery, and so you went through and you chose, and later in the week, actually, I think it is, you'll choose for the next round or like that and everything. But it's kind of interesting just because, you know, I went through my podcast, talked about today, and I actually did selections during the podcast. But it's like there's so many beers that aren't on that list that I'd have from breweries, right? That are like not here. It should be here. Like if I say like Braxton, they were on there. There was no dark charge. Like there's no dark charge beers are freaking awesome, but not enough people have really had them to be noticed, I guess, on Untapped because they're more of their specialty type stuff. But from what they did have, they had some interesting choices. A few I didn't have, so I was like, I really haven't had this one, so I don't know about this, but I know like Taps and their Nelly Key Lime is really good. So I'm going to go ahead and just vote that one. I would just, you know, I said on the podcast, but they had some unique ones. Of course, they had Psychopathy and they had like the Truth because those are like the name recognition for Mad Tree and for Rye Guys. But interesting just to have them do it that way. So it's kind of cool that you guys are doing something similar there as well.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of anger of beers not being on there.
Yeah.
But
it's like college sports. Who didn't make the cut? Or there's going to be debates about it, right? So, yeah.
And I'm just like, the best way to pick 16 beers was the top 16-ish rated on Untapped. So these are the ones you all liked. So, but yeah, it'll be fun to see which ones win. We had a couple of our employees like fill it out to what they thought the bracket would end up like. Some of them, like I do the totals of the votes. Some of them have been really close, like a 4 vote difference, and then some of them have been like a beat down. So it'll be interesting. I think we posted one today, and I think the next round or the next vote we do is going to be insanely close because it's 2 beers that people love, but one's a brown ale and one's a sour. So. It'll be interesting to see how that one comes out, and I have no idea which one I'm going to vote for, which says a lot because all the other ones have been clear choice for me, but this one I'm like, oh, which one? So and everyone's like, why did you put those 2 against each other? And I'm like, I just did it random, but it's just like a 1 versus 2 seed or something, or.
Yeah, it's like they should not be meeting. That's like supposed to be down the road.
Right. This is this potentially could have been a championship game in its first round. So
yeah,
it's fun. It putting it together was fun, and then sending it out to everyone, and them getting angry but also excited about it. Especially in Kentucky right now, we don't have a lot of good like basketball like brackets.
No, I was gonna say in any other year it would have been like Kentucky against Duke. Right. Yeah. And this year, neither team's going to probably make the tournament.
We're making people excited about a beer bracket instead of actual basketball bracket.
Yeah. That's cool, though. I like that. I like that idea. Then people can go in and vote. It gets a good activity for the people as well. So
yeah. So if you've had our beers or whatever, or if you're in Louisville, go on our social media and vote for them. Or if you haven't and you want to see, you think one sounds interesting, you'd like to see it again, vote for it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you see the Dirty Peach come up, vote for that as well.
Hint, hint. That's the one you're pushing for.
The Dirty Peach. It's a peach wheat, but they brewed it with chocolate malt, so it's got this incredible flavor that you just normally don't see in a wheat beer.
Nice.
Yeah.
You got that, Todd? Dirty Peach.
Dirty Peach. Yeah. Just vote for it next week.
Let's see here. Actually, let me go ahead and pull up the website because I got a chance to pull it up. So here's the website that we have here. And I'll see. Is there anything that you want to mention off of? I know you said you guys are still doing some different things with it here, so it wasn't as fully enhanced. But here we got like the beers you got on tap right now.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of everything is what we like to say. Obviously, we always have an IPA on. We try to always have a dark beer on. So we've got our porter, our shot through the hearts, our strawberry milk stout we did for Valentine's Day. We have a light beer on. At least we try to have a light beer on. We got our Von Kaiser, which is just we call it other, but it's just a German light beer. We also have our 8-bit blonde. We also have a Vixen. The Vixen is a Gruit ale, which is a really fun beer to talk about. So it's a beer that has been brewed with no hops.
Right. Old school. Yeah.
So it's obviously before they ever invented hops, they just used different herbs and, natural stuff they found. So we partnered with Chimera Brewing Company and brewed a Vixen with elderflower, yarrow, and sweet gale. And it's got this incredible flavor that it doesn't taste like a beer. Obviously, the hops add so much flavor to a beer. The best way I describe it is a wine beer hybrid. It's very floral-y. We use acidulated malt, so it gives it a little bit of tartness, which it's not a sour beer by any means, but the acidulated malt brings out this really nice flavor. Kiss the Cannon is our smoked cherry wheat that we mentioned earlier. The Coffee Creamer is a really good beer. It's just a coffee cream ale. To me,
I'm intrigued though. I'm intrigued by Tahitian vanilla beans though.
Yeah, so it is basically the best way I describe it is like cold brew, but in beer form. It's light. People are always surprised. When they think of coffee and beer, they think stouts. I mean, this is a cream ale, so cream ale is a very light beer. So you're up in Cincinnati, so Mad Tree does a coffee table. Their coffee blonde ale. It's very similar.
Okay.
I'm trying to think anything else on there. We're looking at our clusterfuck is a chocolate marshmallow caramel and peanut porter, like the Goo Goo Porters out of Nashville. So that's one of our brewers' favorite candies. The key lime pie is probably one of our best sellers right now. I drank it last night and I legit thought I was eating key lime pie. You taste the graham, you taste the crust, which we use graham crackers. You taste the key lime, you taste the vanilla. It's incredible. They did such a great job with it that it actually tastes like key lime pie. I've had some key lime pie dosas before that don't taste like a key lime pie. This one is. It's thick, which also adds to the flavor profile.
Nice. But a shot through the heart is I grew up in New Jersey, so is that like a Bon Jovi reference as well too then?
Yeah, it was our Valentine's Day beer. It's a chocolate strawberry milk stout. It's very good. It's roasty. It's more on the roasty side than actual sweet side. They used real strawberries, so it's got a real strawberry flavor to it. I'm not a super big stout person, but that's definitely a very good beer and one that you can drink if you're not super into stouts. It's not I think it's like 7%, but it does not taste 7%.
Yeah. You get the Maker's 46 French oak.
It was. So we do a lot of aging on. It's not barrel aged. I think they wish that they had aged it on more Maker's 46 staves because we didn't get much of the bourbon off of it, but it definitely adds a unique flavor to it. I think it adds to the roastiness of it.
Yeah. And I know Kiss the Cannon, it wasn't one of your favorites, but I would definitely give that a go. I mean, one, an American pale wheat, and then two, the smoked.
So we have some Kiss the Cannon fanatics. So
Yeah.
That's the only thing they'll drink when they come in. It's a small crowd, but they're loud.
Yeah. And to get cracking, I always like a nice brown ale. You got that one with pistachios as well.
Yep, that one was good. That's actually not on anymore, so this reminds me to tell my boss to update the website.
I feel like there's not enough brown. And that's one of the areas I would say too. Like brown ales are another style that I can see more breweries I like to see do.
Yeah, we did it. I've never had pistachio ice cream. People said it tasted like pistachio ice cream. I liked the beer. I liked Get Kraken. So I'll have to try next time we bring it back. I'll have to try some pistachio ice cream before I drink this. It had a sweetness. It had a nice sweetness to it from the pistachios, but also the nice roastiness from the nut brown base.
Means I just voted for dirt. I don't know if there's a dirty socks or if that's just
dirty peach. We got to vote for dirty peach.
Coffee creamer is what he had on the show when we did last week as well. Shot through the heart was tasty. So
this was.
Yeah. So like I said, so he's all over it. And then of course you mentioned I get the guest beer. So here's like the guest. You guys keep 8 guest taps on there. So
we try to keep them local-ish. You know, we'll put some. Right now, we're having some hard times. We're having harder time with some of the distributors just because we had a distributor in Kentucky close, and so we're having breweries re-sign with different distributors. But we keep it local, Kentucky, Cincinnati, as much as we can. And then if we don't have a sour on, we like to have a sour guest tap. So we had ordered a bunch of sours because we didn't have sours on, and now we have sours on, but. We're getting into that warmer weather where people appreciate the sours.
Yeah.
And then we always have a cider on because we don't make a cider.
As I'm a big ABV person. It's like that shadow proof is what jumped out at me from Sun King up in Indiana as well.
Pouring that is like motor oil. It is so thick.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's a thick one.
Yeah. So that's what we got there. But then I mentioned before, so then we get the bourbon list. So you guys are definitely not holding back on the various bourbons you got there. I mean, I looked here, that's like the house, and you're doing the bourbon flights. But then it's like, okay, so let's get into the pours. And I felt like this list kept going and kept going, kept going. Like, you have a good amount of bourbons that are available there, which is freaking awesome. So for people learning about bourbon and want to taste that, great place to go to as well.
So we have over 150 Kentucky bourbons. We have only Kentucky. We have 3 Michigan bourbons, Traverse City. One of the owners travels up there a lot. He got vacations up there. So we make an exception for those 3. But we have everything from our old Bardstown Bottle Bond, which is our well, to some very, very vintage Old Fitzgerald, which you're seeing on the screen right now. We have Blanton's Black Label, which is a Japanese release only. So basically, it was only meant to ever be released in Japan. What I like to say is our owner knows a guy. So we
always good to know a guy.
Like, how'd you get that? And I'm like, our owner knows a guy. That's all. Like, I mean, he does. He's there's bourbon people and then there's bourbon people, and Roger's that bourbon person. So a lot of our bourbons are from his personal collection that he brought in. So the prices might be a little bit higher, but also, we try to make them fairly reasonable because we know you're coming in to drink beer. But what we've noticed a lot is people will order a beer and get a bourbon, and then they'll have 3 beers while they sip on one bourbon. So we think, these things work well together. And we each week, which is one thing that I find really neat that we do, is we do a bourbon special of the week. So we'll take a bourbon that's maybe rare or something you normally can't get, or you can get, but we'll sell it to you for a decent price. So we've done Blanton's for a week, and we priced it. It's a 1 ounce pour, but we'll price it at something very reasonable. We did Pappy Van Winkle 12-year as one of our bourbons of the week, where we had it for I don't remember the price, but it sold out within 2 days. We just want people to come in and try our bourbon and see that we have a really good bourbon selection, but then also try our beer. We want you to come in for the beer, and the bourbon's a bonus, or you come in for bourbon and you're like, hey, okay, let me try your whatever your lightest beer is if they're not normally a beer drinker. So the bourbon selection is something we always get complimented on that people don't expect when they come in. And people like I said, people like to try a bunch of different bourbons while they're drinking beer. And then also we do for our vintage stuff. Mm-hmm. We do. So most of our pours are 1.5 ounces, but for our vintage stuff, we'll do a 1/2 ounce pour. So that's why you see 2 prices, because it can be pretty pricey, but if you just want to try it, we'll give you that 1/2 ounce pour.
Right.
And like I mentioned, I don't know a lot about bourbon, but working there, you learn, and you just become familiar with some of these different bourbons. And like you see the Old Forester 86, it's a 1990 Japanese release. And so that's stuff you can't really find. And so people always like coming in, or they'll be like, I wanted to buy this bottle of bourbon, but I want to try it first. So they'll be able to come into the brewery or the tap room and try it before they buy a whole bottle of it, which is nice. And people are also very surprised at our prices. I mean, some of them can be a little pricey, but that's just because it's a pricey bourbon.
Right.
But we don't try to, we're not going to charge you. One of the things the owner says is like, I never want to overcharge someone for a bourbon. He's like, I want to make money, but I also want you to be able to try it. Right.
And there's a certain rareness to it. I look at that Elmer T. Lee. I mean, 162, 1.5, or 65 or half, but it's one of those rarities that you have to understand. It comes along with bourbon.
The death bottle, yeah. Everyone is very surprised to see the death bottle on our shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have Weller Special Reserve, Antique, 12-year, Blanton's, got a bunch of different Blanton's, Japanese release straight from the barrel. We have a UK release Blanton's.
Yeah.
Good bourbon. So if you're in Louisville and you're looking for a place to get good beer and good bourbon, I'd say, I mean, I can definitively say that we have the best bourbon selection in Louisville.
Yeah. No, you got a great selection. That's
as a brewery. I will definitely have
as a brewery. That's more than I've seen in a lot of places. I mean, not just breweries, even like some of the bars and stuff more.
Yeah.
You mentioned Japan. Japan used to have the biggest bourbon bar in the world, which was surprising because you're thinking of how much bourbon, being in Kentucky, but they love bourbon in Japan. So they had the most amount under one roof of bourbons. And just it was about 5 or 6 years ago, whatever it was. But in Newport, I don't know if you've went to it since you've been back up here. I think it's over on Monmouth. We now have the largest bourbon bar in the world.
Bourbon House of Bourbon?
Something like that. I think it's like over 500 different types of bourbon under one roof that you can actually get. I haven't been down there yet. I need to go at some point just to check it out. But it's incredible just to think of so many different, just like beer, so many different bourbons that are out there as well.
Right.
But I think that you guys have is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I like to say we, as a brewery, we definitely have the best bourbon selection probably in the state. And that also stems from just the owner being a insane bourbon guy as well as a beer guy. So it definitely has its perks. It also looks very nice behind. My phone died, or else I would have pulled up a picture of our bourbon wall. But you'll just have to come see it for yourself, or just check our social media. There's a picture on it somewhere.
I wonder, is there a thing here on the site? There's the mascot we were talking about earlier, right? So
no, that's just a painting. Oh, the main mascot up top.
Yeah, at the top. Yeah.
I've been yelling at I've been telling my boss we need to work on our website. So. Because we still have pictures of when we don't have any updated pictures.
Gotcha. So this is all the inside. Nice looking.
Before we open. So just head over to our social media. That's where you're going to see most of the stuff. Yeah.
But no, good stuff there for sure. And definitely say check it out down in the Louisville area or. get down there, you want to visit, you get down, you coming in for the Derby, stop over Gallant Fox.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about Louisville is there's, I wish I knew the number off the top of my head, but we've got at least 10 breweries in town, all within, a 10-mile radius, all inside the Waterston, which is the expressway that goes around. So we're small, and you can get from one end to the other within 10 minutes and check out all the breweries, and some you can walk to. So if you need a little weekend getaway, I think I'm going to advocate for my city, especially right now. We got some more weather, nice weather. And we got distilleries. We got bourbon too. So if you like both, I had a friend come in from Cleveland, and we did distilleries and breweries in the same day. It was we did Buffalo Trace and 2 breweries or a couple breweries in the same day. You can't do that in any other city.
Oh, that's a fun day in my book for sure.
Yes.
We got Ruben in the house.
Buffalo Trace is only like 40 minutes away. So one of the most historic distilleries.
Yeah, next to me, I've got Boone County Distillery, which is not even 10 minutes away. I need to get over there at some point. I just haven't gone over to check it out. I drive past it all the time, and I'm like, I need to go in there sometime and just check it out and just get some of that bourbon tour going. But welcome, Ruben. Good to see you. I appreciate that. I love your work. And legends, well, trying to be a legend at some point. Just doing what we do. Todd said, cool place. He said, the only thing he says, needs more parking, though. Oh, I guess it's a little tight for parking, maybe. But
it does. You can park in the back or in the church as well. I think people are too afraid to park in the church in the back, but I don't think they'll tow you.
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of public parking, but it's on like a street with residents. So
yeah,
parking is tight.
I think the worst parking city to ever for if you're going to in the brewery scene. I don't know if you've been up to Columbus, but
I have, Columbus, but I was not driving. I was either Ubering or walking.
It's like the worst places to find parking around there. I mean, there's certain garages, but the garages are kind of out of the way. So the Uber is the best. That's the city you want to Uber in because parking space, and they will meter the hell out of you up there. So
downtown Cincinnati is the worst. I don't care if I'm going to Rhinegeist to have one beer. I will Uber there. Yeah,
but of course, downtown Cincinnati, we have spots where you can get now. They take your meters out of some spots. You may have to walk a little bit. Yeah, but I mean, they've added more parking. The cool thing that they did is, we have BrewDog here now. So BrewDog is across the street from the casino. Mm-hmm. So you can always park in the casino parking lot for free and walk across the street. So some people will park there now and go to OTR as well because they don't know if you're in a casino or not. So, But for the most part, parking can be a little crazy there too. But they try to do some stuff to make it easier, and they still try to get people ride a streetcar, which doesn't even work half the time. People just don't want to really do it. I mean, they give free rides on the streetcar, people still won't ride it. So
I've never ridden it, and I've been so many times and with opportunities to ride it. Yeah.
But I don't know when the last time you were when you were back up here, but we were talking about Fort Wright earlier. They actually have the Braxton Barrel House now too. So that's nice little spot. Not too far from your parents, I bet, as well. So that's kind of a nice little place, but just a lot of good expansion down in Louisville, up here in Cincinnati, all over. So people need to come to the Midwest and check us out for beer. It's not all about Seattle and California and Maine and Vermont anymore. I mean, we've got a lot of good stuff happening here. You don't have to go. You can go to Michigan. Nothing wrong with Michigan. You're going to Michigan. I'm just saying, don't overlook what we have going on here as well. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and start getting wrapped up here. I know I appreciate all the time that you put in tonight coming on. It's been actually great. Anything else you want to talk about with the brewery? You guys don't do food there, right? I didn't see anything with food.
We do hot pretzels and hot dogs, so just bar snacks. But if you want to bring in your food, you're always welcome to. We started booking food trucks for the spring and the summer. So, but no food, just your brewery. So bring your dog. We're dog friendly. We love dogs. We prefer you just leave your dog with us.
Yeah. That's kind of cool, having the dogs and stuff. Some breweries, it's been a hot and cold type thing.
Yeah. So far, we're good. We're just because we just do hot pretzels and hot dogs. We just basically put them in the oven. The health department's been okay with it. So, and we love dogs. We keep dog trees behind the bar. We'd be sad if you didn't bring your dog.
Yeah. Is it bad that I would say I actually prefer having the dogs come than sometimes the little kids that I see at breweries? The dogs seem more well behaved.
I know every dog's name that has come in and comes in again, but there's sometimes I'm like, I forget that person's name. But hey, Max, how are you doing? Max, you want a treat? And I'm like, oh, what's the owner's name? I was like, I have no idea, but I know the dog's name. So.
Who doesn't love dogs, right? So but it was great.
Just we call them hot snacks, and then that's it.
Yeah, but if people want to bring in food or have it ordered in, they can do that as well and stuff.
We've had people order Domino's. We're pretty flex.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that some breweries run into is being able to. Is know that if you have food there, then you keep more people in for a longer time as well too. So.
Yep, that's why we just do hot pretzels, and people love them. We do beer cheese and spicy brown mustard. So,
which is always good with beer. So yeah, awesome. But thanks for coming on. It was great having you on, Kinsey, and keep me posted on the stuff that you're doing there, and hopefully get you back here again. A lot of good things taking place down there. Looking forward to hearing about more of the beers. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thanks for everybody that watched and tuned in. I'll be back Thursday night with Todd to do another beer show that you guys know. If you guys have anything that you want to bring up from what you saw tonight, feel free to do so. Look forward to talking to you all soon. Keep drinking those good craft beers. Remember, there's always time. Get your beer on. Cheers, everybody.